Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking all the cantrips in Baldur's Gate 3 on this tier list, ranking them from best to worst. There's some really great cantrips here and there's some big stinkers, so I'm going to go over this and let you guys know which are good. So the first thing we got here is Acid Splash. Now this isn't the worst cantrip in the world, but acid damage in general is just fairly meh. It is better than poison though, so we will put this in the B tier. It isn't fantastic as a whole, but it can be better than some other options here. Next, we got Blade Ward, which early on, this can be pretty useful. The reason Blade Ward's so good is it halves all physical damage, so piercing, bludgeoning, or slashing damage types, it'll half those. There are armors in the game that will give you Blade Ward, as well as there's some items that will give you Blade Ward on heal. So it is a good cantrip early on, but you can get this easily if you have a cleric that has the items that'll give Blade Ward. I'll put it in the B tier as well, because it is outclassed by a lot of other cantrips, and it's not worth using in combat compared to some other options. Next, we got Bone Chill. Now, I was hemming and hawing on this because necrotic damage is decent as a damage type, but the big benefit to Bone Chill is the fact that it's going to stop enemies from taking or being able to get healed. Now, there is one fight in Act 3, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but if you're able to use Bone Chill on them, it makes the fight a joke. So I'm going to put Bone Chill in the S tier. I don't think it's the absolute best cantrip, but the ability to shut down a target from getting healing when there's some fights that are extremely difficult because of the healing, I think that deserves S tier just for the ability as a cantrip to shut down a boss. Next, we got Dancing Lights, which is, it's okay. Like, both Light and the Dancing Lights are decent. Like, Act 2, that's where they really shine. I think Light is a bit better. I'm going to also put this one, I guess, on the tier list at the same time. Light can be useful for just overall, I guess, the utility side of things. No use in combat, so that's why it can't go any higher than that. But yeah, the ability to have Light is decent at certain times in the game, so you should probably always have at least someone with this, or have the Blood of Lathlander weapon, because in Act 2 it's kind of important to have that. So yeah, B tier. Next, we got Eldritch Blast. This is by far the best cantrip in the game. It also has the Call Lightning spell is this, but rotated in blue. Kind of funny, I just picked up on that. But Eldritch Blast, fantastic spell. As a warlock, this is your main bread and butter, and you get 3 beams at level 11, so that's fantastic. But another thing that's really nice with the warlock is the ability to add their charisma modifier to the damage that it does. So that's pretty huge because you can add a +6 to damage on all 3 bolts, so that's an extra 18 damage that you would not otherwise get. Alongside that, we also get the Repelling Blast, so that pushes back creatures 4.5 meters, which is actually pretty large. So if there's anyone on the rooftop, you can knock them off the roof, or you can knock them off of cliffs to their death. So S tier for sure. I think that Eldritch Blast is like extremely useful in a variety of situations, and kind of a no-brainer S tier. That cantrip's just busted, his term, and it should be, because the Warlock kind of benefits from that as they have less spell slots than other classes. Next is Firebolt. Firebolt's pretty decent. I think that as far as the spells go, it's good. I'm going to put it in the, I'll say A tier, top of the A tier. I think that Produce Flame is actually a little bit better because both have their uses in combat. I think that Firebolt, you don't want to typically use it for your main damage option. I think its best use is if you have like grease set up to set fire to the floor, or if you're a barrel mancer and you want to explode the barrels. That's the way to do it without wasting a spell slot. So awesome, A tier. Friends is awesome. I want to put it in the S tier because it's only used in dialogue, but when you do use it, it's very helpful. As dialogue and the overall role playing in Baldur's Gate 3 is important, and being able to overcome some dialogue checks with a cantrip is massive. So this doesn't waste your spell slots. It gives you better dialogue options. And yeah, it's overall just very effective. So I think it does belong in the S tier because of the usefulness of it. Guidance. Guidance is really huge. I think that Guidance is also another S tier. The reason being, because Guidance, it allows you to get a 1d4 increase to your ability checks, so that's really nice. It can be used in dialogue, so if you're about to roll the dice, you can click on Guidance down the bottom and have Guidance applied to you. So always have at least one person with Guidance, because it makes it a whole lot easier to get better dice rolls. So I think it's an essential cantrip that you should always have. If you have friends on the face of your party and Guidance on an assisted team member, your overall dialogues checks are going to go much better. So yeah, S tier. Next, we have Mage Hand. Now, I think Mage Hand is great. The reason being, it has some very nice usefulness if you have a lightning or cold focus build. I think that lightning damage in general is one of the best. So if you have a Storm Sorcerer, Draconic Sorcerer, and even like a Tempest Cleric, having Mage Hand is awesome because it can throw water bottles. It can also throw healing potions, but the ability to have it throwing water to set up your double damage from lightning and cold is massive. I'm going to put Mage Hand in the A tier. While the Mage Hand does get taken out really quickly, it also is extremely effective, so definite A tier. Next, we got Minor Illusion, and I don't think enough people are giving this cantrip love. Where it shines is when you're outside of combat. Let's say you want to steal from a chest, but there's people moving all around in the building. Cast a few Minor Illusions to drag them out of there. You can go steal to your heart's content. On the same note, if you have a sorcerer or anyone that's got Fireball or any large area of effect spells and you want to start combat off right, set up Create Water and then do a Minor Illusion and it'll draw everyone all together and you can just blast them with your spell. This is extremely effective if you're outside of combat and use Minor Illusion to set up enemies and then Create Water to create water and then hit them with Cone of Cold. That can pretty much end an encounter without the combat even starting. So I'm going to put it up in the high S tier. I think that is Minor Illusion is a fantastic cantrip, one of the best in the game. Next we have Poison Spray. This is, again, it's garbage. Poison is the most resisted damage type. It doesn't do anything that the other cantrips don't do better. Produce Flame, I think is, from my testing, I found Produce Flame a little bit better than Firebolt, but both are decent cantrips. Produce Flame, you can create a flame in your hand, and you can hold it or you can throw it. So throwing it is a free action as you use the action to create the flame. It's nice, and it can critical hit, so it's pretty good damage late game. It can do upwards of 24 damage, then a critical double, so pretty nice. We have Ray of Frost next, which I think is another S tier. I'm going to put it right there on the tier. So the reason I like Ray of Frost, it does reduce movement speed. That's not the big focus of it. The focus is if you have Create Water set up, this is a very reliable way to do a lot of damage. Also, if you have the Staff of Morning Frost, you get additional freeze or ice damage. And then having water set up, this does quite a bit of damage for a cantrip. Honestly, the highest amount of damage that you could get out of a cantrip. So that's pretty good. Eldritch Blast is fantastic, but I think Ray of Frost is underrated for what it is. Next is Resistance. Plus 1d4 to saving throws. This kind of sits right where Blade Ward is. The nice thing is there is armor, the Armor of Persistence in Act 3. That'll give you both of these permanent. So whoever you want to have take half damage and have a 1d4 increase the saving throws. Flawless. Sacred Flame, a radiant cantrip. Now the only issue is a lot of people give this a bad reputation because early in the game, the Goblin Camp has high dexterity and they have really good dexterity saves. And this targets dexterity, so you're not going to hit often with this in Act 1, but Act 2 and 3, it's decent for a cantrip. Radiant damage itself is good against the undead, and yeah, there's lots of gear that can benefit from this, so yeah, I think that Sacred Flame's not too bad. Shillelagh, this is another A tier, I think. It's a pretty good one. Put it probably top of the A tier. For druids, being able to turn your staff into a wisdom modifier weapon is massive because it'll help you with your attack rolls if you want to do melee. And it actually, I think this is probably like at level 1, the highest damage you can get is from Shillelagh, so pretty good. I think that's definitely an A tier. Shocking Grasp stops the target from using reactions and its lightning damage. I think it sits roughly around here, although you can make Ray of Frost a little bit more damaging. The stopping of reactions is huge because then you can use this and then pass by freely, so it's pretty great. It also is double damage in water, so alongside Ray of Frost, pretty great. Resistance is, or Thaumaturgy is pretty decent. I think I'll put it right there. It's a cantrip that I don't find myself using often because there's just better options for spells and cantrips, so I'll put it in the B tier because it does have some use, but not often. Thorn Whip. This is another one that's pretty great. These are the two druid exclusive cantrips, and I think they're both great. Thorn Whip is the only spell in the game that's like a reverse repelling blast, Eldritch Blast. It pulls the target 3 meters towards you. So there's some areas in Act 1 of the game where there's like a pit of death, and you can just pull the target off of it and just down the hole. That's pretty fun. It feels like you outsmarted the game, so I like it for that purpose. It's not great overall later on in the game, but early in the game, it's situational, I should say. It has some great options. True Strike, easy F tier. I do not think that this is useful at all at any time ever. Using an action to get any advantage on your next attack roll is pretty garbage. I had someone comment on a video today saying that sorcerers can use a bonus action to use this and then they attack with advantage. That's a waste of 3 sorcery points. This is just a waste of a cantrip. Never take it. It's not good. If this was a bonus action, it'd be debatably useful, but it's an action. So if you use this, there's your turn. Not good at all, I don't think. Finally, Vicious Mockery. I want to put this in the S tier for how funny it can be. Vicious Mockery is awesome because it's psychic damage, but also you get to hear your companions say funny insults. I think that is the best feature of it, is just the laughs that you get from using it. Now, it's not the best cantrip, like these are all better, but Vicious Mockery is still pretty funny. I think that just for the overall damage, it's fair. Like, it does a decent bit of damage. It's a bard exclusive cantrip, but it's just funny. I think I keep saying that, but that's the best thing. Like, hearing Shadowheart call people like a poop eater is so funny. Yeah, it's comedical. I would recommend trying it out on all your different all your different companions in your Tav, because it's really funny just to hear what they say when you use this cantrip. So there it is. That's the best cantrips in Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. If you found this video useful, please hit that subscribe button below. Really do appreciate any and all support. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.